Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. This is the Travel Collective. Hey Cindy, we're going to be talking about some tips on how to blend in when you travel.
Yeah, it's really important to think about what you wear, what you do when you go in different places. We talk a lot about how not to disrupt, like try to be less disruptive when you travel. And I think that learning to blend in or thinking about what you wear is an important part of, changing how your experience is. So this is going to be good stuff.
Yeah. So I think part of the reason we want to blend in is not, number one, in some places, if we're traveling internationally, it might be for safety, but even in the United States too, depending on where you're wanting to go. I mean, if you're wearing a
Yeah.
shirt with a big old logo, you're attracting attention, you're being disruptive, it's sending a lot of different signals and you might be broadcasting something that, you
You don't
don't
want to
want.
do.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't we don't really think about it necessarily, especially in your own hometown or in your own neighborhood, but what you wear like says something about you, and it's telling, which is cool sometimes, right? Like that's why we wear it. You might wear your college sweatshirt, or you might wear something from your hometown, or you like a certain ball team or whatever. That's communicates your personality. But when you're traveling, do you want that kind of attention? And are you looking for the travelers to know that you're from out of state, out of the country? Like, is that what
Right.
your goal is to do? And for safety reasons, for the most part, you don't want to advertise that you're a traveler, right?
Right.
That's
Exactly.
what you're trying to avoid. Um,
Right.
so I
Yeah,
think,
I think if you try to like blend in more, again, your experience is going to be more authentic. You're kind of like the little fly on the wall. You're able to sit back and observe if you're on the train. You're
right.
able to like just kind of be part of the woodwork and enjoy that. It's, again, it's a new place, a new experience, even if you're in a new city in the United States. But if you're the one that's wearing the bright, loud, big logo on it. Now you're drawing attention to you and you're
Right.
now the attraction, so to
Which is,
speak.
sometimes that's what you're looking for. I mean, maybe you're trying to meet people and you want somebody to know that you like Star Wars or the
Right,
Lakers or whatever that is.
right, right,
Does make for a good conversation piece, but at the same time, it tells people that you're not from around here. And maybe that's not what you want. People just assume if you travel, we already know this, that you have money, right? So if you're
right.
traveling, they assume you have money, which is not true. We know that. But they just, even in the United States, right? If they see
Yes,
you as a tourist, they think, oh, you must have money on you, or you have money
right,
as you're traveling. So
right,
that makes you a target for those kinds of crimes like pickpockets and that sort of thing, muggings, other things that you
right.
don't want to participate in. Um, and then, like you were saying, if you're not doing that, then you can kind of blend in and you can listen and you can do better people
Yeah,
watching because you're like
right,
in the background.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. And I also think it's a matter of respect. I mean, you mentioned earlier when we were talking, like it's like going to a wedding and you don't want to upstage the bride or even you dress appropriately for the setting. And
Yes.
so I think we want to do that even when we travel. Like, what is everyone else wearing? Meaning the locals, what are they wearing?
Yes,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Right. And it's just like if again, depending on what part of the United States you're
Mhm.
going, yes, if you're going to fancy affairs and staying in higher end things, of course you can,
Yeah.
maybe dress, you're going to dress to fit into those places, into those restaurants, into those circles. But
Right.
if you're wanting to explore, the murals and street art of a certain area, you're going to want to again, dress like you could belong in that area so that you are able to navigate those areas more easily.
And without people like turning and saying, who is that? Or what are they wearing? Or
Yeah,
what's happening?
right.
So,
What are they doing here? They don't belong in this neighborhood, kind of thing, right?
right. So now let's just talk about like, how do we know how to do that? Like,
Yeah,
well, I mean, I think the first thing, like you said, is to kind of know the setting, right? You need to kind of research where you're headed, and how you're going to spend your days on your travel, right?
right. And
And
Google, if you're going to another country, you can kind of do some Google research. There's, we're lucky that there's so many videos on YouTube or Instagram. You can look up a city and see what they're wearing, kind of what the street looks are.
right.
Again, and just you can never go wrong with wearing plain clothes, just
Yep.
like plain,
Simple
simple,
colors. Hmm.
simple colors, that blend in. Think about any big labels that might be on things. I know we've talked about that before. Instead of carrying a camera bag with the logo on it, think about
Hmm.
switching to a plain bag or covering it up somehow. There's ways
Yeah.
you can do that. Just
Yeah.
like your suitcase, your suitcase is coming off the thing and now you're having to take the train into
Right.
Paris to stay. That suitcase says a lot too.
And your
How,
purse or your
right.
backpack and your shoes. I mean,
Yes.
I know in the United States we love our tennis shoes and labels, but those shoes, if you've got expensive shoes, and they don't, I'm not saying that they have to be $400 shoes, even if they're $60 shoes, in some countries, $60 is a lot of money. So,
Right.
right, you have to think about, what are you doing and does it need a label? Do you need something that people, are going to look at and know about? So you don't, I think simple, 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 like plain colors,
Right.
simple
Right.
stuff, so that you don't stand out. It can still be beautiful. You can wear colors, you can wear patterns. We're not trying to tell you to dress in all tan.
You're right. Yeah. You don't have to look like a
You don't,
safari. Yeah.
yeah, well, that would even make you stand out more because if you look like a tourist,
Yeah.
um, I know I'm very cautious about the backpack thing because wearing a
Yes.
backpack makes me look like a tourist because,
Right.
and you don't want to do that. I do sometimes because I need to for the distance I'm going or whatever.
Yes.
But wearing a backpack out when everybody else has just got a purse, right?
Right.
You're labeling yourself. If you've got a big like vacation hat on, like
Right.
and do you want to advertise that you're on vacation in this spot, in this place during this time? Maybe not. If you're on the beach,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So
Exactly.
I think
And
just
then,
knowing that. Go ahead.
right. And then we just talked a little bit too before we got on to record about checking out their customs and respecting what is being done there. I know, like in the United States, for restaurants, for example, we're just used to like tipping and doing that. But in other countries and other places, you're
They
not,
don't tip.
they
Yeah.
don't tip. And so you gotta, it might be offensive or just, again, it's a big red flag if you're leaving money on the table. Everyone else now knows, like,
You
oh,
should
you're
not
not
from
from
around
here.
here.
Yep,
Right.
not from these parts. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, looking up the customs, looking up what they wear, just trying to get a feel for that and understanding where you're going. The less touristy you look, right? Like you're not going to wear the safari jacket, the safari hat, and your big backpack, and then maybe a loud like um, uh, Hawaiian shirt and your cargo pants and big tennis shoes. Like you're just
Yeah.
gonna look like the quintessential like American tourist, and
Right.
that is gonna stand out because that's what we look like, and you don't want to do that. You want to kind of blend in for your safety, for the respect
Right.
of the community, and also for your experience. So
Right.
um,
Exactly.
knowing if they cover their head. I mean, there are lots of countries where
Oh,
people are walking the streets and they're wearing more different types of attire that we wouldn't necessarily be wearing. You don't need to wear it, right? If it's not necessary,
right. But it's
right?
just being aware, like you said too. And I think you brought up a good point too, Cindy, as women.
Mm-hmm.
Certain countries, there are really different standards, how much
Yeah,
leg you're showing, shorts, you're not going to, honestly, you're not going to be allowed into some places of worship. And some of those buildings, you are curious. The architecture is
right.
incredible, but they will not let you in if you don't have something to put on your head, or you're wearing shorts or short skirts that are
Too much skin is
again, too
showing.
much skin is showing. So it's important to kind of look into that ahead of time if these are places that you're wanting to experience once you're there.
Yeah, and know if you need to. I know we were in Vietnam taking off our shoes to go into some of the temples and places was necessary. So wearing socks was important, right? If I wear flip-flops and I'm wandering around in my bare feet, I felt more comfortable wearing my socks. Sure, they got dirty, because I took them
Yeah, right.
outside and we walked in. And I also am careful with my shoes because I'm going to leave them at the door. You don't know. You're not going to leave a $150 pair of shoes at the door, probably. but you know, you feel more comfortable with that. I do think it's important just to kind of look and know what's happening. And with the customs, as you start to research that, you'll start to see images of what to wear. Again, you don't want to dress in costume. Like, I want to make that really clear. No one should dress like the locals, because that is disrespectful. But knowing what they're wearing so that you're wearing something more similar, closer to that, like you said, if it's there, if women are covered from head to toe in this country, then maybe you wear the longer pants, or you opt for a
Right,
skirt today instead of a, you know, and maybe it's a longer skirt, and maybe you have a scarf that you can put over your head so you are able
right.
to go into the temple or into the church that you wanted to see, the place of worship. So you can be respectful. So just knowing what those are and being prepared to be respectful, and you know, looking at what's happening. I mean, you could be in a beach community where everybody is, you know, walking around in their bikinis and they're in shorts and flip-flops, and that's what everyone's wearing. So that's what you're going to need to
Yeah, right, then you
act
need
right.
to do that.
You
Or if
know,
you're in Japan and you're going to the go to the onsens, I think it was
yeah,
Sheila shared with us that yeah, you're
take it
naked.
all down.
You get it all down. So you need to know that so you're not the one trying to walk in there with you know, immediately you're out of place, it's disrespectful, it's all of those things.
Yeah, so I think that's what we wanted to talk a little bit about. Maybe if you guys have some comments or some thoughts about
Yeah.
places you've been, we'd love to hear about it, and how you've sometimes felt out of place. I know it's happened to me, not intentionally, right? You want to be respectful, but you walk out into a community and you're like, ooh, I look really different. And I know, you know, with your red hair, April, and you being a white girl, like this happens in a lot
Right.
of places
Yeah.
that we travel to. It's like immediately people turn and say, oh, she doesn't belong here.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
But at least I can do is kind of dress like I sort of belong, or that I get what's happening here in the community,
Right.
right?
Right. Exactly.
And I don't know about you, but I kind of have standard clothes. I think you mentioned that in another video that we did, that we just sort of have like travel clothes. Like, these are the things I wear, which I do. They dry faster, they don't wrinkle. I have certain shirts and pants that I just mostly wear when I travel. And I tend to get them in solid colors, less
Yeah.
bright colors,
Right.
right? And then I might,
Right.
you know, make it more stylish with a scarf or a top that's got.
Yeah, or I might stick
Mhm.
something in, or again, just seasonally, you know, if it's springtime, yeah, put in
Yeah.
something that's more pastels or that other people would be, you know, wearing something spring-like or a scarf, like you said, or just, again, all of those things, but
Right.
things
Absolutely.
to think about. So,
Well, hopefully we give everybody something to think about blending in, and just taking a moment to think about that as you start to pack for your upcoming trips, guys. So,
yeah, thanks everyone. So check out more. We have it all on the-travelcollective.com and feel free to join any of our upcoming coffee chats. We'd love to talk and meet you.
all right. Talk to you soon, April. Bye.
Bye.